Hey guys, we are back for It's Not Complicated, a podcast through Central United Methodist Church. My name is Jenny Williams. I'm the senior pastor at Central, and I'm glad to be back with my two favorite co-hosts.
That's me. I'm Chase. I was like, what? Yeah. I'm Chase. I'm the executive pastor.
I'm Virginia. I'm the Wesley director and college pastor at Central.
Remember that we are reading the Bible, and it is an exciting and wonderful and sometimes interesting story. So if you have sensitive ears or you're in the car with someone who does, just be mindful. Y'all, today marks a very important day.
I can't wait.
We are closing the book of the law.
Woo!
Aww.
Oh.
I mean, sorry.
Yeah. We were finishing up Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
That is the 5th book in the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
And just what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
So I did want to say a few things about the law as we close it up, because we have read some wild things. We have read some interesting stories.
Mm.
We have read what we might see as questionable ethics. However, I want to point out something that even from the moment the law was given and was starting to be implemented, the people, originally the priests and the religious leaders of the Israelites, but then on into the prophet, the time of the prophets, into Jesus' time, the book of the law was always being interpreted by the leaders.
Yeah.
So
Still is. I assume.
yes, of course.
Yeah.
There was never a time when they were like, well, this is what it says. Seems a little shady to apply it here,
Gotta
but
go
we gotta
with
do
it.
it. That's not how this was ever looked at. Just like our laws now can be interpreted and nuanced through our legal system and through other legislation. This was the same thing. They had the Talmud, which supported the law and helped interpret it. They
Like
had,
blue laws. Like blue laws. You know what those are?
No.
that's when you couldn't work on Sunday?
Yeah. Or in like Little Rock, you can't spit on the sidewalk or.
Oh, like the random
walk
ones?
your donkey down Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
They're
exactly.
still enacted.
That's
today.
exactly
Yes.
right. That's exactly right. So that's all I want to say is that, before we think that the Israelites via Moses and later leadership just lived by these laws, no questions asked, that really hasn't been the case since day one. These were given by God as guidelines, but they've always been treated as a tool rather than, a rigid structure that you can't move around in. I want to give a New Testament example of this in the story where the woman who's caught in adultery is brought before Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the leaders ask Jesus, well, what are we supposed to do here? Well, by the law, the answer is to stone her to death. But the reality was people hadn't been stoned to death for adultery in generations. This was not an active practice. You can look at Jewish historians at the time. That's not how they handled those situations. There was already interpretation being done well before this, but certainly by the time of Christ, we see that some of these harsher rules that governed the earliest days were not always, it was not always that cut and dry.
This should be interpreted? Are you serious?
Interestingly,
I know.
yes.
What?
I know.
Crazy.
New information.
Sorry.
Anyway, so let's dive in. We've got Deuteronomy 31 through 34.
Thank you
Did
for
I do
that.
it?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's top notch.
Okay. So Moses is 120.
It says that he has a big announcement.
Yes, attention everyone.
I'm 120.
Yes, also I'm dying.
That as well.
I mean, yeah, amen. Aren't we all?
Yes.
And so what happens now that Moses is going to be gone? What are they going to do?
Who's going to take over?
Is that my cue? Joshua! Yay!
Joshua's going to be in charge. We get the earliest version of the be strong and courageous line that we'll hear over and over again.
On the Lord,
And-
be strong and of good courage. Wait.
That's
on
not-
the Lord. I say on the Lord. I say wait. Do y'all know that one?
Nope, you are making
No.
songs up.
No.
I mean, it's also one of the earliest examples of like public commissioning
Yeah.
in leadership.
That's
which is
exactly right.
awesome.
Yeah. So, and Moses says a lot, like, be strong and very courageous. And I think it's just because Moses has dealt with these people for 40 years now. And he's like, you don't know what you're getting into.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah. So then, of course, don't forget the law.
Yeah. Another public reading of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of recaps that. And then if you fast forward, there's something that new that happens. Oh, wait, it's not new. Israel is going to rebel again.
Obviously.
It's like a circle.
And then there's this like poem or song that God gives Moses, and it's the scariest poem ever in verse 20.
Yes.
What does it say? You have verse 20 right there. It says, scroll back up.
No, this is like...
Oh, do you want me to read it? Or
Yeah, you got it. Read verse 20.
read verse 32:20?
Yeah. No, 31.
31:20 is, for when I have brought them to the land flowing with milk and honey, which I promised on oath to their ancestors, and they will eaten their fill and grown fat, they will turn to other gods and serve them, displeasing me and breaking my covenant.
Yeah, that was like a poem. Is that a poem that God gave Moses, or did God inspire the song that then comes in the next chapter?
It's the next chapter. It's the song
Yeah.
of Moses.
So then it's the song of Moses in chapter 32.
Yes. So 32 is great. So I think what we should do is we should like try to create our own songs using some of these lyrics.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a singer, so
See, like,
can you provide
Mary,
the beat?
Mary had a little lamb or something. You can rap it.
boots and
Listen,
cats,
you
right?
heavens, and I will speak. Oh, we're fast forwarding. They are corrupt and not his children. To their shame, they are warped and crooked generation.
Ooh, yes.
This is a good one.
Remember the days of old, consider the generations long past.
Ask your father and he will tell you. Your elders, they will tell you. They will tell you.
The curd
Hey,
and the
Lady
milk from
Gaga.
herd and flock
Please.
will flatten lambs and goats. What? What?
Anyway, so I want you all to know that in the notes, Chase wrote, "This is such a great daddy," and I was,
No.
Oh, Diddy. This is great, great Diddy. I was like, what?
I was like, what is he talking about? I was really hoping that he was talking about Diddy, and he was. Thank God. So
Yay,
the,
autos-
You should sing
Yay,
verse
autos
5.
fell.
You should sing verse 5 of that.
Verse 5 of this?
Yeah.
How's it go? Let's see.
Great daddy.
They are corrupt and not his children, to the shame they are warped and crooked generation.
that's what I just said.
Oh, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
It's
Oh
worth
my
repeating, though.
goodness.
That's a good.
That was a remix.
Yeah.
It was the remix. Thank you for that.
I would like to point out that this song is longer than the law.
All along.
Who
my
wants
gosh.
to? This is a jam band, and I am not here for it. No.
Fair.
Dave Matthews, go home. I probably made a lot of enemies just now.
That's fine.
How dare you?
So Moses is like, I am 120, I'm old, I'm dying, and God's like, can you hike up that cute little mountain over there? Because I want to show you
Mhm.
what you're missing.
Or the promised land, or, yeah.
I know what he's missing. That's what I'm saying. But God like couldn't spirit him away up there.
I know. It
No.
made him
God's like,
hike
one
up.
final trial. Just hike up this cliff. And he does. And Moses gets to see the,
So humble.
so humble. He gets to see the promised land. And he's like, I can't move too well, but I did it.
Because I just climbed a mountain.
That's probably
20
why.
years old.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. So Moses, to close everything out, Moses blesses the tribes. I thought this was hilarious. Some of the tribes have these like long sweeping blessings.
Yeah.
And then it gets to Dan and it's like, Dan is a lion cub. I don't have anything else to say.
That's it. That is it.
Did Simeon actually get a blessing? Or did they leave him out?
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I have in my notes, is that there's a unique that Simeon, one of the original 12, is notably missing from the
Oopsies.
blessings.
You know, he was 120.
Yeah,
and
he forgot one.
I'm forgetful now. I
True.
can't imagine
True.
in 3 times my lifespan,
Mhm.
right? So, and then in chapter 34,
He dies.
He dies.
He does.
Yeah.
And what a obituary. Like, recap, by the way. This is all the things that he did because he was humble.
He was.
To be honest, the obituary was shorter than the song, and I was disappointed by that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in the obituary, it's like, and his vigor hadn't diminished at all. And I'm like, well, hadn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, at 120.
He forgot one of his sons or grandsons. I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Sons.
No, that would be like
Oh my goodness.
grandfather.
Where am I?
Great-grandfather?
Yes.
Well, I mean, great. Because remember, 400 years ago.
Got you. You are correct.
But it's an important
part.
family member.
Yes, it is.
Mhm. And now we are in the book of Joshua.
Yeah.
Ow!
I'll say this gets into like some of the best stories.
Yeah.
It really does.
Oh,
We start
Joshua.
here.
But before we get too far in, Moses is dead.
Dead to begin with. As dead as a doornail.
Huh?
What? Superstores have like Christmas up already.
What?
What?
The Scrooge.
What?
Marleys were dead to begin with. As dead as a doornail. That's how Scrooge starts.
I
don't
never.
know.
I don't know.
Did y'all not know that?
No.
I didn't know that.
No, but
I didn't learn that in seminary.
that was-
Have
Sorry.
y'all not seen Muppet Christmas Carol?
No.
No. If I have, I was 6.
Yeah.
I watch it every year.
That's such a niche piece of
Really.
Christmas
didn't know
culture.
How dare
If
you?
you're listening to this and you did know that, will you please send Chase an email? Like, he needs some affirmation, I bet, after that.
I love words of affirmation. Or thumbs up on this podcast would be great.
Now, we get the refrain, be very strong and courageous. Again, you're going to need courage to deal with these people, Joshua. And then we get another reading of the book of the law.
Book of Law.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm reading the Common English Bible. It's a very interesting translation, and it calls it the instruction scroll. Sounds so boring.
Yeah. For
Which
real.
is different than the scroll that the king had a copy of that one passage of law.
Well, I guess so the entire law was not written on the tablets. Obviously, that would be an unrealistic thing that would happen.
Very heavy
There's
and
only
hard to
10.
move.
Right. What?
Man, that's all the tablets.
Yeah.
This is the old tablets.
So anyway, oh my gosh, he's still in, what's happening?
No, I just tend to do the Jim Halpert where I
Uh-huh.
stare at the camera.
That's always a good one.
So they had scrolls or some sort of other like paper apparatuses that they would write the remaining 603 laws on, and then they would stick it in with the tablets, is my understanding. So, and then Joshua's like, all right, for real this time, we got to get a move on. We got to go.
Yeah.
It's time to
The
move.
things to do.
We got 3 days.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Raha.
Mm-hmm. And then there's like a whole section where it's like, you have to support Joshua or you will die.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I had some like campaign slogan flashbacks going on there. Doesn't that
Yes.
sound a little too familiar?
A little bit. Yeah.
Anyway, so here we go. We're heading into the promised land.
Yeah.
Countdown is on. And so here's what's interesting to me. They send a couple more people into Jericho, right?
Yeah.
Because that is ours. And we want it.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Yes. And they go to Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They just head right in there and bed up, it says.
Oh, yikes.
And we know that Rahab is a prostitute.
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
So if you were heading on in to spy on a city, where would be your first stop?
I mean, they probably know the most stuff.
True.
They probably hear all the gossip.
But anyway, thankfully they do go there because Rahab happens to be a really amazing character in this story.
Absolutely.
And she says, we have heard about you Israelites. We know you're coming and we have, we are freaking out. We're panicking.
Mm-hmm.
The people, I think it said something like, the people are, my version says they were melting down. I loved this. Like,
Yes.
This is the most relatable translation.
Yeah.
They've heard what God has done in Egypt. They've heard how God has helped them defeat people in the wilderness. And now they know that the Israelites are coming for Jericho. So people also in the town knew that these spies had come in. So they're looking for them. And so Rahab takes them upstairs and hides them under the stalks of flax. And I really wanted to make a morning, I really wanted to make a morning Constitution joke here, but I decided to move on.
Nice.
Just got my healthy dose of flaxseed
Flaxseed.
before we move into war.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a morning constitutional.
Yeah. It's okay. We don't have to know everything that each other knows.
Yeah, because like
It's
you did
fine.
the Scrooge thing, and we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I used to have an uncle that would walk away. It was like time for my morning constitutional. I thought it meant walk.
Well, yeah. Walk to
Yeah,
the
like
restroom.
that, or
Oh my gosh. So when I tell my neighbor, "Hi, y'all, I'm just going for my morning constitutional," I should not do that.
And then you walk into the street, they think you're performing public indecency.
yeah, maybe
Lord, no.
pass on that one.
Goodness gracious. Well, so the people are melting down in fear, but the Israelite spies say they will protect Rahab and her family because she has hidden and protected them. And
Our
then,
life for your life. It was like
yeah,
pretty hardcore. Like,
Yeah.
your life, our life.
yeah,
And she
they-
put out like a red cord, right?
yes, and that's how they would know.
But so much has happened since then with red and that type of profession.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Oh wow,
yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
And then they lower the spies down by a rope. And I always loved this visual. Like, I don't know why. This was one of my favorite visuals growing up, of biblical visuals of them like lowering down the wall, I guess.
I've never really thought of that, but that's
Because then there's
Cool.
another
Out of
version.
all the things.
I don't
that-
know, Chase. Like,
Like
they're
the massive
spying. They're
arc,
going down.
the giants. You're like, look, here's the rope, and people are rebelling. Oh, that looks great.
Jenny and I like true crime. Okay, they are breaking some laws
that's right.
to do some stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're outwitting the investigators.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of later when Paul gets lowered down the wall in the basket. Did I make that story up?
Well, and then
We'll find out in a few.
the friend who's lowered down to see Jesus.
In a few dozen.
Yeah, in a while.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Chapter 3. Now we're on the move. They have to pick up the ark.
Yeah.
This is
Follow
the ark,
the ark.
of the covenant. Is that a song?
Nope, that was just me proclaiming. Follow the ark.
Thank you.
But they're like, don't you dare touch it. Don't go near it.
We've
So
we've
how far
seen
did
what
it have to
happens.
stay?
3,000 feet behind it.
That's like
That's over a half a mile.
how did I see it?
5,280 feet.
You
That's what I wondered.
Indiana Jones, right? That's what would happen.
I know. The skeleton. I'm
Yeah,
like,
dude.
"Ah!" So,
Goodness.
oh,
Okay.
well, we've seen that. But so, like, we've been there. It's pretty mountain-esque.
True.
Mhm.
So it's like, I mean,
Maybe there was that one flat spot between there and Jericho.
there it is.
Yeah. Anyway, so they get up to the...
Now, was the cloud still a thing? And fire?
Hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to say. Then they get to the waters of the Jordan and they set foot in. And then what happens?
They waded in the water.
It started to part.
Yeah.
So
It's
they-
a
In
very-
fact, all the way from, was it Dan?
No, Adam.
Adam, all the way down to, so I guess basically it was from the rivers where the river connects from what we know as the Sea, or Tiberias or Sea of Galilee, all the way down to the Dead Sea, which is quite a track.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like
It's a good ways.
a couple miles.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know geography, but yeah, I believe you.
It was during flood season too, right? I think it was.
Well, and yeah, and it's like the moment they set foot in it, then the waters start to recede. It's another Moses moment.
Of like faith.
Oh, there's a lot of
Yeah.
like repetitive retellings of the Exodus story here. So they get across there, and then they pause. They're like, we're going to march into battle, but let's take some time and do some
crafts.
Riverstone art. Yeah,
No, it was a memorial.
yeah.
Okay.
Because they had to get the big boulders from the middle and then take them out to the edge. And then that way, when people were like,
I mean, it was
what are those?
Yeah.
What are those? They'd be like, your ancestors crossed here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that's from?
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't.
You don't. Wakoa forever.
Oh, Wakanda?
Yeah, that's it.
Wakoa.
Something. Anyway.
All right. So,
So they're making memorial stones.
and then what I loved about this story is that after they get across, people are like, Joshua is so amazing. Did you
Yes.
see what he did? And I just wonder if back on the mountain, if Moses kind of rolls over in his grave a bit and is like, I marched you across a sea and you all got so mad at me.
80 years. Right?
40.
Oh, was it 40? So he's 40. Oh, it's 40 when he went to become a shepherd. And it was
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought
40
that was
years.
funny. Like, oh, Joshua did a river, but I did an ocean.
Should have slept.
Not really an ocean. Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
So now we're moving into chapter 5 and
You know what this party needs?
circumcision.
That's right.
Well, technically they're supposed to, but this is for everybody that was like born in the wilderness. Are y'all laughing at the notes?
No.
Okay.
No.
I will say, I've said it once, I'll say it again. It's not a good party unless there's a good set of rules. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. And there are a lot of them.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Chase. You were saying that they had done like a mass circumcision
Yes.
when they first entered the wilderness.
Yes.
And apparently had never done it again. I assume that was for safety. I don't know that it would have been hygienic to do this in the wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe they were just like kind of forgot about
I don't
it.
know if it'd be hygienic to do it at
Someone
any
was like,
time
you know, if we
before like modern medicine.
no one bring it up, and maybe we won't
Flint
have to do it
times.
again.
Everyone's
I mean-
like, what? No, I don't know.
Oh, I don't. What?
Sounds
Anyway,
like a
well,
great idea.
Oh, my
the
God.
buck stopped here, so to speak. So then they have to take a rest because they got to do some healing.
Mhm.
And then it's time to be on the move again. And we see them starting to like also randomly plant crops.
Yeah, no more. What is it? No more manna.
No more manna. They're on their own, which I think it's fine. I think this is fine. So then there's like this right at the end of chapter 5. Again, I said we'll get a lot of retelling of Moses type
Yes.
stories,
Mhm.
but this angel of the Lord comes to Joshua and speaks to Joshua and kind of gives him a pep talk and all this kind of stuff. But it's very reminiscent to me because it's like, take off your shoes, you're on holy ground.
Right.
Obviously, this is reminiscent to me of the
Remove your
burning,
sandals.
yeah,
Mhm.
of the burning bush, and God first initially coming down and speaking through an angel, and then God, actually speaks through the bush or something to that effect. But all that to say, we are very meant to see Joshua as the new Moses figure and
Mhm.
God working with Joshua in the same way that God worked with Moses. So the battle begins.
The battle begins. Dun dun dun.
So we know this is one of my favorite stories in the Bible.
And just thinking about it, like from an adult quirky perspective, it's just so weird.
It's so weird. It's also very liturgical, and it's like,
Yes.
was Jericho like they were already big and like strong and powerful? Were they like these liturgy geeks are just out there marching?
There's
around?
7 of them.
Yeah,
They got horns.
yeah. They're like
It
do
was-
do do do. I don't know.
It was a little bit. It was a little bit a lot. I mean, like this story terrified me as a kid.
Really?
Yes, I don't know what it was about it, but we saw like the people of Jericho. We saw the cartoon, and of course it was like old school cartoon, and we saw all of the people of Jericho, like looking out the open windows,
Yeah.
like mocking the Israelites. Of course, this is like men, women, and children.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
hey, you're so weird. And then at the end, you see don't see anything. You just see the rocks like fall on the screen, and then it pans out to like just nothing.
Yeah,
And I was like, all those people,
yeah.
I
I mean, that's we're going to feel that way a lot, I think, over the next few chapters of
All
the Bible,
those
books of the
people.
I
Bible.
mean, like, one way to, like,
Yes.
prank Chase as a young child would be, like, walking around his house with a horn.
I was scared. No,
See?
yes,
You were
yeah.
terrified
I
of
was
it.
like, please, just do it 6 times.
Yes.
And don't shout.
So for 7 days, the 7 are commanded to walk around one time.
Yeah.
And then on the 7th day,
Silence.
they all walk around with the army,
Mm-hmm.
and they walk around 7 times. And on the 7th time, they are supposed to let out a great shout
Mm-hmm.
and blow all the horns. And the walls came
Tumbling down.
tumbling down.
That's right.
Josh fit the battle of Jericho. Jericho.
Jericho. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. And
Oh,
the
I
walls
have a
came
map
tumbling
on
down.
the next page. I love these.
And don't worry, for those of you who were worried about Rahab, she is kept safe.
Right.
They are sent out. The army is sent into the crumbled walls into the city to say, like, kill them all. But Rahab and her family are to be kept safe. And now they get to live among Israelites forever, which I knew this. I probably should have known this. I kind of didn't take it in, but this is how she ends up in Jesus' lineage.
Right.
Because
right.
she and her family, all of her relatives become part of their.
Yeah. Which is
It's
amazing.
really beautiful.
Yeah.
Then we get, like, we don't talk about this a lot as kids, but this was fun.
This actually, so do you remember those illustrated Bible the old school ones that had like the Nephilim in them and very graphic war.
That is.
Yeah.
So you would color them?
No.
Oh,
It was color pictures in there though.
When I was in
Oh,
third
okay,
grade,
yeah.
We got the King James.
Yeah.
This was a children's Bible,
that's
but
all
it
we
was
got.
like a children's Bible for people who had the reading level of like 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And
fine.
this story was in there, and there was Achan like on his knees outside. I say Achan, it's probably Achan, but anyway, on his knees in front of his tent, and the gold that he had stolen was out on the ground, and they're terrified.
Mhm.
Moses has got his hand. Anyway, it was a very scary story. Why don't you go over it, Chase?
We have Achan, and then they took some things that was devoted for other things, right? They took things out of the plunder, if you will.
It's devoted to God, yeah.
You're supposed to keep it, but it was given to God. Look at it for themselves, and the Lord's anger burned against Israel. And so they were stealing, and they took a whooping from the men of Ai, or Ai. And the Israelites' hearts melted like water.
Yes.
And Joshua tore his clothes and fell on his face. Here we go. Along with the elders and Israelites. And they pleaded for rescue. And so God was like, you know what? Stand up. What are you doing? What's going on? Like God didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then God was like, look, the Israelites messed up. Go consecrate them. Keep on going. So I had to put a whipping on you because y'all messed up.
Well, right. And so they do this whole process and figure out that Achan and his family and there was, I think, another family that was involved in this as well, had stolen these treasures.
Mm-hmm.
And Achan says, I am so sorry. I have sinned against the Lord. I feel terrible about it. And Moses is like, me too. Or not Moses, sorry. Joshua is like, me too. Go ahead and get your family. And then they stoned them and burned them.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Make sure you get it. It's just all the way.
The Khans are gone.
They're gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
But then they keep fighting, and AI is destroyed through an ambush. I thought this was clever. They had a decoys that drew out AI from the city. And after all the army goes out from the city, the Israelites goes in and they burn it, and AI is wiped out.
I keep thinking you're just talking about ChatGPT.
Me too. Like you're talking about like the defeat of AI right now.
Yeah, I know.
Or regulation or
The
something.
Lord is coming out against ChatGPT,
You're
and they
going
will
down.
be destroyed. Anyway, it was very clever, very smart.
Yeah.
Well done, Joshua. And then they build an altar according to the book of the law, and then after the defeat, they just go ahead and do a light reading of the entire law.
A light reading. No, they read all of
Not
it.
one thing that the Lord spoke through Moses was left unsaid. So, I was like, did someone say recap?
I appreciate them just saying that at this moment, they read the law instead of writing in the law again for us to read.
Right. Okay.
Like chapters
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Deuteronomy would have been like, and here it is again.
Again.
Yeah, Joshua was trying to save some scroll here, which I appreciate. But they're up against, it's like they get no time for rest, and then they're up against another army. This time, this is like, they foiled the plan for the previous enemy, but now this time, they get a little bit tricked, right?
Yeah, there's the enemies that come in disguise. It's the Gibeonites.
Gibeonites, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay, cool name.
That was cool.
So they come in with like old sandals and moldy bread, and their wineskins have seen some better days.
Absolutely.
They're all cracked and like patched and stuff. And they're like, "We're just poor, and we're wanderers
so
from far away,
away.
so far away, but really not right. They were their neighbors."
Yeah. But there was no fooling Joshua.
Yeah,
No.
Joshua's like, "Fool me once, and then fool me again," or however that goes.
Yeah, because he was like, you guys look really,
Really familiar.
really far away.
But they did kind of pull it over because they
Because they made a treaty with them.
They did.
they made a treaty, and then they're like, "Oh wait, y'all are our neighbors," and then they're like, "You know what? We should get them." And then Josh was like, "No take backs. We made a covenant.
We
with
made a
them.
covenant, yeah.
No take backs.
Pesky covenant.
Gotta live with us. You're gonna live with us, but here's the thing: you're gonna be woodcutters and water carriers for the entire assembly. So I'm assuming that's not just for one tribe of
Oh,
Israel,
sure.
it's
Oh,
for
yikes.
the multitude.
Yeah.
Like you're going to cut everybody's firewood.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
No.
Welcome.
Sick burn is all I have to say. Not as sick as like actually burning them, but pretty harsh. Sorry, too much. Chapter 10, we get Joshua. Oh, sorry.
But Joshua did confront them before we move on. Joshua confronts them. It's like, okay, we know you lied. Now, not only are you going to stay with us and do the work, you're going to have to do it forever.
Yeah.
This was the new kind of like, you can stay, we're not going to kill you, got to do it forever. Sorry. All right.
No, that's fine, because that will actually bring up this whole not killing them and letting them stay causes problems later on in multiple situations. We'll get to that. In chapter 10,
This one's
we
fun.
get up against the king of Jerusalem, which I thought was really interesting because I'm not sure I realized that Jerusalem was a pre-established city.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same. I was like, God, wow.
Yeah, I looked it up, and Jerusalem had been established by the Jebusites, of course. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Those Jebusites, so I'm kidding. I don't know anything
I
about
don't
the
know, yeah.
Jebusites. But later, it becomes part of Israel when it's conquered by David.
Yes.
So at this point, they're just like another king of Jerusalem, Adonai Zedek.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a partnership with several of the kings around there to attack the Gibeonites. Because they had made peace, the same Gibeonites had made peace with Joshua.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now Jerusalem king is mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
They're like, we got to go get them. And so they're like, we're going to partner with our friends. So they pull up their posse and they're like, it's Hebron and Jarmuth and Luxem and blah, 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 Gibeonite. All of them. All of them. And then,
and so the Gibeonites reach out to Joshua and they're like,
Yeah.
help us.
yeah.
It's the king of
Yeah.
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Joshua marched up and I need Chase to discern.
So like this combo posse, they were confuzzled, right? They're like, what's going on? And then they started getting confused of who was where with all the people there. So they fought and then they fled. And then as they fled, there was this hellstorm that came up and wiped them out. And then the sun and moon stood still.
Yeah, but the battle raged on.
Yeah.
And Joshua was like, we got to finish this today.
Today.
Hey God, it'd be like real cool if you could just pause the sun for just a little bit.
Just a little longer.
Just so we can, finish this whole thing.
I don't know about that part, but I have always prayed that the sun would just take a little bit more longer to wake up so I could sleep in. Right? Can you just pause time and let me get it?
I think the scene,
Large.
so much would be thrown off by your prayer of
And then
sleeping.
the way that they described the day cracked me up because it was like, it's the day unlike anyone has ever seen, and there will never be a day like it again.
I wonder if it was just like an eclipse or like the longest day of the year
I think
or
they just,
something.
I don't know.
Here I am trying to make
I know.
sense
I
of
don't
it.
think.
I'm sorry.
I don't think we
It's
need to
going.
make sense of it. I think
I
the
know,
point
yeah,
is,
we don't.
is like the Creator God has control over that, and that was their point. Whether or not the sun actually lasted
Right.
longer or not, they won the battle, which was the important part.
Mhm.
And then,
Then all the kings were like, oh no, they were not involved in the battle. They're like, y'all go do this for us. Bad leadership. But y'all go do that. And we're going to go hide in the caves. And so they do. They hide in the caves.
and were they killed by trampolines?
No, they were killed. They were brought out of the caves. And Joshua said, dear Israel, here are the kings, and you're going to trample on them. So put their foot on their necks.
By trampoline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need you to read your own
And
notes
then
so that
after
you
they
can discern
were
what we say.
after they were dispatched, they were hung up on poles for a display
Okay.
for a day.
Just for a day.
Just for a day.
And then we get the destruction of all these other places that came out against them, and Elon, Hebron, Debir, Negev, and there were, let's just say, not many survivors.
No.
As it should be, I guess. Chapter 11, another king, Jabin, king of Hazor, he was
Posse.
he was calling on people to come with their troops and fight Israel. Israel is like on a roll right here.
Yeah, they're doing really
and so
well.
the surrounding tribes are like, we gotta
Yeah.
knock their momentum off.
For sure.
And so So anyway, so they call, there's several people attacking, but once again, the Lord is like, don't be afraid, just keep on going. Israel wins, and they show no mercy.
Right.
So there has been several battles raging on. Thankfully, on day 25 of our readings, chapter 12, we have a total recap of all of the defeated kings.
In case you missed it. In case you weren't
There's a
reading.
great list.
Here's
there.
the defeated
It's
kings.
31 names.
Yeah,
31
31 of
kings.
them.
Yeah,
Done.
wild. And anyway, moving on to chapter 13. We don't need to read them all now. Although, again, if you are looking for a biblical baby name, check it out.
Hey,
Ooh, wait.
Yeah.
Tirzah. Tirzah.
Tirzah. Baby Tirzah. Anyway,
So
so...
I'm dyslexic. I'm just looking at letters right now.
Right.
Adlulam.
Libnah. Arad.
Tapua.
Hormah.
Whoa.
You need a name that you can like yell at with like, like Maiden. Maiden, get over here. Yeah.
Hazer Grace, get over here.
Lasheron.
Two syllable names are the easiest ones to yell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so chapter 13, Joshua is old now.
Yeah.
But not old enough, God says. He says, you know, you've
You're
got
only
too much
85.
left to do. Yes, you're only 85.
Yeah.
It's not time for retirement. And so God gives a new list of land that still has to be overtaken. And then we start dividing up the land.
Yeah.
And this is
Yikes.
exhausting.
Yes. Like
much.
the next several chapters
Mhm.
have to do with allotments. And so like you get this first on 14, you get this something new, like here's an allotment for Caleb. Now has a little neat backstory. Like he was faithful under Moses and brought back reports and then was promised land. And now that he's still alive, he was 85. He's 85 now. He was 40 when that happened. He was ready to fight for a hill that he wanted. And, you know, it was a hill that he was not going to die on.
Oh.
You know, he said, keep it. But then we just have allotments galore on the next couple of chapters.
Yeah. There is one brief little story in chapter 15 about Caleb's daughter, Aksa, we'll say. And Caleb is like, whoever defeats this other person can marry my daughter. And Othniel defeats, son of Kenaz, defeats this enemy. And so Caleb's like, here she is.
There you go.
Such a darling story.
In chapter 17, it talks about the 5 daughters of Zelophehad,
Yeah.
maybe?
Zelophehad, yeah.
Yeah, Zelophehad, thank you. He had no sons, but all 5 of his daughters actually received inheritance.
Yes, and they're the ones that came up before Moses.
That's
requested it.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is great.
They got it.
So, like, I guess that's like chapter 14 and 19 is all the allotments.
Yeah.
And
then we've got chapter 20, and it's back to the cities of refuge.
Yep.
I've really missed these.
have you?
Yes. No, these cracked me up. We talk about them so much. I don't really know what they are. My Bible has a whole little commentary section on cities of refuge. It was helpful. And it said that in ancient Near Eastern culture, this idea of murder, spilling blood, and then that blood contaminating the land so much so that you had to have an avenging moment.
Yeah.
Blood also spilled in order to cleanse the land. It was very much a part of the ancient Near East
much
culture.
blood.
And it was even written into the Israelite law, but certainly it did not originate there. It just was kind of a prevailing understanding of blood and how it impacted the land and the people. So, however, there was this emphasis that if you murdered someone and spilled their blood, your blood had to be spilled in order to make amends. But there were some situations where you might accidentally, we talked about this
accidentally
kill someone.
I hope I never do.
Well,
Yikes.
same. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. But whoopsie daisies, you're dead. But I didn't mean it. And so
I gotta go over there.
But there was their blood was going to get spilt no matter what. So they had to have these cities of refuge for them to run to say, like, this person is not, we don't need to call for their death. They're safe here. It's like
it was an accident.
like a sanctuary city kind of thing.
Yeah.
For those people. I'm not saying that makes it any more relatable to us now. I am just saying that's why we keep hearing about the cities of refuge, because that was so much baked into their culture and understanding of bloodshed, that it was a necessary reality. There you go.
There we go.
Chapter 21. Oh, my other thing was God says about the cities of refuge, like, I spoke to you about these through Moses, and I just giggled when I read that, because we were like, yeah, we remember.
Yeah.
Like, we remember it several
a few
times. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, God. Chapter 21, we've got more towns for Levites.
Yep. So after everybody has gotten their town, all the tribes, then Levites were like, hey, remember us? We do all the priestly duties and everything. We're supposed to
We have to inspect all the skin diseases.
That's right.
So what about us? And then a lot of it wasn't like their own land. It was with the tribes, because remember, they had to be in certain cities.
Was it kind of like a
tribes.
parsonage?
It was. Absolutely. They were appointed to
That would be so nice.
That's a little Methodist itinerary joke for
of Issachar, and then the tribe of Asher.
Oh my God.
The tribe of Dan. And yeah.
And the trustees never would change out that old carpet.
Never would do it.
Anyway, chapter 22. Remember the eastern tribes before they crossed the Jordan? They were like, we'd really just rather stay over here.
Yes,
Kind of nice.
It's
Let's
got
just
some great
stay.
farmland.
Yeah.
So they get to go home.
Yeah.
They did have to come over and fight, but now they get to go home. Okay. And then in chapter 23, Joshua's like, for real now. I'm
so
very old.
I might die.
I just thought I was old before, but now I am actually very old, and I'm going to go now. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. But before I go, here's all the things I want to say to you.
That's right. And this is where we get that famous Joshua quote where he says to them, choose for you this day whom you will serve.
Mhm.
As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You know, I always, in my mind, pictured this happening at the beginning of his career. I think it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. I would,
Like, he's saying,
but-
like, this is my legacy. My house will serve the Lord. And
Yeah.
you can make your own decision, but this
And,
is where we
you
stand.
know, 2,000 years in the future or more, a Midwestern mom is going to have your words in their kitchen.
That's exactly right.
It's important.
Or hung above their door frame.
Yes.
Jesus, poor Joshua. He's like, I'm too old to care. He
Right.
dies. He's 110. I can't help but think that them saying, the Bible writer saying he's 110 and Moses is 120 is to elevate this idea that he was almost
Almost got there.
almost as good as Moses as a leader, but Moses is still the premier leader.
He's got 10 years.
But what a great legacy, though, because he does leave a challenge. And then right after the challenge that Joshua leaves, there's a renewal of covenant.
Yeah.
Right after Moses leaves, they just have to go into battle.
Yeah.
Like continue on the journey.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of reminiscing of like every year we do a covenant renewal. you
Yeah.
know?
We have to remind ourselves, you know, this is who we are, and we're going to stay, you know, true to who God has called us to be.
We do it every time that somebody's baptized or joins the church.
Yeah.
We do it every time that we say the affirmation of faith. But like I do like the beginning of the year, the Wesleyan covenant renewal.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we get to move on to the most interesting book of the Bible.
It is so fun and weird.
So weird.
Mm-hmm.
So weird. So much House of Dragon energy in here.
Yes. Very much.
And I
so.
actually think that's helpful because, you know, when I was a little girl and I would hear about the nation of Israel, you know, I thought of nations like our nation, has borders, has one flag, one pledge of allegiance,
Right.
one specific leader. But really, this is early in the Israelite nations forming, and it was not this solidified community. It was really just a collection, like a loose collection of tribal people who are on the same team, but not necessarily all under the same IRS system, right?
Yeah.
You know, like they so there's lots of things to come. In chapter 1 of Judges, right off the bat, we are still fighting.
Still go.
It's
Always.
against the Canaanites a lot here. And I guess Canaanite is sort of a general catch-all for that region.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Mhm.
And then there were specific tribes in Canaan, probably, that they were going up against. But Judah has to go first.
Yeah.
Was Judah the oldest son?
Sure. I really don't.
Someone look that up for us. So Judah has to go first. And so there's so many Canaanites everywhere. But before Judah goes, we get that precious retelling of the story where Caleb gives his daughter
Mhm.
to Aksha to the one who defeats and captures Kiriath Zephyr, and that is Othniel. So once
Judah
again,
was
A lovely name.
Jacob's fourth son.
fourth son. Interesting. Reuben was the first son. Well, I don't know then. Judah's up first. Maybe that was just practical.
Mm-hmm.
But Othniel is going to marry Aksa.
Mm-hmm.
But Othniel will come around again in a few chapters. So.
Yes.
So then we've got the tribes of Manasseh, Ephraim, Zebulun. They also go into battle. Here's the key thing about their battles, though. They won, but what did they do? Do y'all know?
Oh, no.
They did not utterly defeat everyone. They let some of the people from the tribes that they were, to live and live with them. And this is seen as a sign of disobedience. And it will cause problems for them later.
That's so sad.
I know. So chapter 2, the angel of the Lord at Bochim is there. And God is upset because when they came into these places in Canaan, they did not take down the high places or the altars. And this was a big mistake.
Ooh,
Huge.
Just look huge. I was looking at this. This is kind of
so good.
like usually most of the times when the angels or spirit appears in the Bible, what do they say?
Do not be afraid.
This one doesn't.
Yeah,
This one's like,
This
the
one's
angel
like,
Lord
I know.
appeared. I brought you out. It was like, whoa,
I don't even care if you're scared.
Yeah.
Very afraid. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Really, guys?
And you know,
come on.
And this, in chapter 2 of Judges, is where the refrain begins. They did evil in the eyes of the Lord.
Here we
And
go.
it says they started worshiping Baal.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's go
They,
back.
quote, forgot
Yeah.
God, forgot what Yahweh did for... I was like, what? It has been 5 minutes.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Let's...
I don't understand. I mean, did you not read the previous 5,000 verses
Right.
of
Again,
the Bible?
it's like a circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
The circle that never ends.
It doesn't.
And so they already don't remember what God just did for them, and this is leading them down a really destructive path.
Yeah.
So chapter 3,
Oh, love it.
say more.
Okay, so in here you have Othniel.
Othniel. Yeah.
Okay. All right. He, again, he's the son, right? He's marrying...
He married Caleb's daughter.
Yes. And
Also, I think he's the son of Caleb's brother, but that's a whole other story.
Again, Game of Thrones stuff here, people.
Which the law did have a specific rule about relatives marrying one another, but whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it's all up for interpretation.
And so, like, obviously, the Israelites are not doing what God has asked them to do, and insert Ehud, E-H-U-D.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing.
The
And
story is fantastic.
there's that man, and then there's the king of Moab, who they talk about being a very large man.
Yeah, Eglon.
Eglon, is that what it is?
That's his name.
Oh, there we go. He's very large, and so Ehud is like, you know what? I gotta take this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ehud, though, has a secret weapon,
Mhm.
and it is that he's left-handed.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so he goes in, and he's like, I'm gonna conceal this sword. But he doesn't know that I'm left-handed, and so he goes and he stabs him,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole sword disappears inside this man's body.
Yeah.
Just insane.
Yeah. And my favorite part about the story is that it's taking a while for Eglon to come and get ready for bed that night.
Mm-hmm.
And so his staff are like, knock, knock, Eglon,
Hey.
King Eglon, sir, are you ready for us to come and get you in bed?
Yeah.
And he's like not answering, and the door's locked.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, he must be having his daily constitution.
No
Yeah.
walk.
Yeah. Mhm. Absolutely.
And so they're like, how often did he spend time in the bathroom that they were like, I guess that's what it is?
You know, it was probably too often.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so he finally, they come in and find out that he's been assassinated, but Ehud or whatever is long gone.
Mhm.
And he goes back, gets the army of Israel. Eglon's dead. Everyone's like, how did he even die? We can't find the sword. And they run in and they kill them all. And there was peace in the land for 80 years.
Yeah.
The end.
Until.
And then, can I talk about the last verse?
Yes.
31.
Judge Shamgar.
Yeah, so Shamgar there's only one passage of scripture, one verse that ever talks about him. And all it says is that he kills 600 Philistines with an ox goad.
Yeah.
That's it.
An ox goad.
And I did have a fish named Shamgar.
I wonder if this is like at all related to the story of Samson.
Huh.
Because, didn't Samson kill them with like the jaw of a...
That was
Of a donkey?
An ox.
Yeah.
Yeah, ox goat's kind of like a...
It's a stick poke and
With
it's got a hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's...
Or it was just everybody
Simple
was
but
out there
short.
like
Yeah.
killing people with animal
I mean,
accessories.
like, Shamgar must have been...
This would be
amazing.
great for goading oxes. Also, this would be great for war.
Yeah.
I mean,
Killing Philistines.
Philistines.
it's like a Swiss Army knife.
Anyway, friends, this is where we get to stop this week.
And I'm so
That was
excited
quick.
for next week.
It was
There's some
quick.
fun ones. too.
And Judges is fun and also harrowing. If you thought the law was hard,
Ooh.
well, I'm just saying Jephthah's daughter's coming up, and I have a lot to say about that story. So,
Mm-hmm.
do y'all have a favorite part in the book of Joshua?
Oof. I just really like Rahab's story.
Me too.
And all of that, and what it leads to eventually.
Just Jericho, just because of the kid experience, but also we got to go see.
Yeah.
We
where
did
it
get to
was
go there.
at. We went to Old
Yeah.
Jericho a couple years ago, and it was still in ruins.
Yeah, it's really sad. Jericho has not been excavated the way that some of the other areas of the Holy Land have been, which is kind of interesting because you do feel sort of like you're out in the middle of nowhere.
A little bit, yeah.
But also it's sad because if they were able to like spend some money and excavate some of those areas, there's no telling what
Oh,
we
yeah.
find really interesting history.
I just remember the sign when we got there. It was like the oldest city in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, look, y'all, we have had a great time rushing through Joshua. I mean, I guess after 4 books of Moses, this one did seem brief.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, be very strong and courageous until next week when we gather for Judges. The second part. We will see you then. And remember, sometimes the Bible stories are complicated, but there's one thing that's not complicated, and that's that Jesus loves you. See you next week.
I
Bye.